Dear wanderers of the shadowed paths, welcome once more to the throne of nightmares, where the veils between the living and the lost grow thin, and the echoes of bygone horrors rise to claim their due. Tonight, we descend into the abyss of a tale long buried beneath layers of coal, black earth, and silenced screams. A story that clings to the soul like the damp chill of a forsaken mine shaft. Imagine, if you will, the year 1905, a time when the world above brimmed with the promise of progress, yet below, in the bowels of the earth, innocence was devoured by the insatiable maw of industry. Our episode unveils the 1905 mine children, a photograph that hid a dark secret. This is no mere relic of history, it is a portal to perdition, a frozen moment in time that conceals truth so vile they twist the mind and curdle the blood. Picture this: you are alone in a dimly lit archive, the air thick with the musty scent of decaying paper and forgotten ink. Your fingers brush against a weathered envelope, its edges frayed like the nerves of a man on the brink of madness. Inside lies a single photograph, sepia, toned and brittle, capturing a group of children huddled in the flickering light of carbide lamps deep within a coal mine. Their faces, oh, those faces, are smeared with soot, eyes wide and hollow, staring out as if pleading for release from an eternal night. At first glance, it is a poignant testament to the era's child labor, a snapshot of tiny souls sacrificed to the gods of greed. But linger a moment longer, and something stirs in the shadows of that image, a whisper of anomaly, a glitch in the fabric of reality that defies explanation. What if I told you that this photograph, taken on a fateful day in the whispering depths, mine of Eldridge Hollow, Pennsylvania, holds a secret not of this world? A secret that has claimed lives, shattered minds, and left a curse that lingers even now, a century later. Let us set the scene with care, for the atmosphere here is as crucial as the air one breathes, or gasps for, in those suffocating tunnels. Eldridge Hollow was a town forged in the fires of ambition, nestled in the Appalachian foothills where ancient mountains guarded their treasures jealously. The year 1905 saw America hurtling toward modernity, with steel rails crisscrossing the land and factories belching smoke into the heavens. Yet in places like Eldridge, time moved differently, slowed by the weight of the earth itself. The mine was the town's heart, pumping black gold that fueled distant cities, but it beat with a rhythm of despair. Children as young as 8 were sent into its depths, their small frames slipping through narrow seams where grown men could not tread. They were the breaker boys, the trappers, the unseen cogs in a machine that ground bones as readily as coal. Our story begins not with the children, but with the man who captured their image, Elias Hawthorne, an itinerant photographer drawn to the macabre underbelly of industrial America. Hawthorne was no stranger to darkness. His lens had chronicled the aftermath of floods, the ruins of fires, and the vacant stares of the destitute. In the spring of 1905, he arrived in Eldridge Hollow on a commission from a reformist newspaper, tasked with exposing the horrors of child labor. Little did he know that his camera would ensnare something far more sinister. A presence that lurked in the mine's forgotten galleries, waiting for the flash of light to awaken it. As Hawthorne descended into the whispering depths, the air grew heavy, laced with the acrid tang of sulfur and the faint, metallic bite of blood from unseen wounds. The tunnels twisted like the veins of a colossal beast, their walls glistening with moisture that dripped incessantly, each drop a tick of an unseen clock counting down to doom. The children he encountered were spectral figures, their laughter, if it could be called that, echoing unnaturally off the stone, mingling with the groans of timber supports straining under the earth's burden. They spoke in hushed tones of the watchers, invisible eyes that followed them in the dark, and of dreams where the mine whispered promises of eternal rest. But the hook, dear listeners, the barbed lure that draws you deeper. In that photograph, amid the cluster of grimy faces, there is one child who should not be there. A boy with eyes like polished obsidian, his form slightly blurred, as if moving through a veil of mist. Historical records show no such child ever worked the mine, no birth certificate, no grave marker. Yet there he stands, his gaze piercing the lens, as if aware of us, watching across the gulf of time. And those who have held the original print swear they feel a chill emanate from it, hear faint scratches like tiny fingers clawing at glass. This is the dark secret. The photograph did not merely capture a moment, it imprisoned a curse, birthing a chain of vanishings and madness that plagues Eldridge Hollow to this day. As we delve further, allow the tension to build, coil by coil, like a spring wound in the heart of the earth. Feel the weight of the rock above, the claustrophobia pressing in, the knowledge that one wrong step could bring the ceiling crashing down. This tale is not for the faint of heart. It is a descent into the unknown, where the line between history and horror blurs and the mind's whispers become your own. Stay with me, for in the throne of nightmares, the shadows are alive and they hunger for your attention. Pause for effect, with ambient sounds of dripping water and distant pickaxe strikes fading in. Now, let us begin the unraveling. In the dim glow of our narrative lantern, we step into the main story, where the children of the mine await, their secrets etched in coal and blood. The morning of April 17, 1905, dawned over Eldridge Hollow like a reluctant spectre, the sun struggling through a shroud of fog that clung to the valley like the breath of the dead. The town itself was a patchwork of weathered clapboard houses, their roofs sagging under the perpetual drizzle, flanked by the skeletal silhouettes of mine headframes that pierced the sky like accusatory fingers. Smoke curled from chimneys, carrying the scent of burning wood and the underlying rot of damp earth, a reminder that life here was tethered to the mine's unforgiving rhythm. The Whispering Depths coal mine dominated the landscape, its entrance a yawning maw framed by timber beams, swallowing men and boys whole each day, only to spit out the weary and wounded at dusk. Elias Hawthorne arrived by the early train, his leather camera case slung over one shoulder, its weight a familiar anchor in a world of transience. He was a tall man, gaunt from years of chasing shadows, with eyes that held the haunted gleam of one who had seen too much. His journey to Eldridge was prompted by whispers in Philadelphia saloons, tales of a mine where children vanished without trace, their names erased from ledgers as if they had never existed. The reformist editor who hired him spoke of exposing the brutality, but Hawthorne sensed something deeper, an undercurrent of the uncanny that drew him like a moth to flame. Upon stepping off the platform, the air hit him, a mix of coal dust and pine resin, sharp and invasive, burrowing into his lungs. The station master, a grizzled old soul named Harlan Grimes, eyed him suspiciously.
"Photographer, eh? Mind the depths, stranger."
"They don't take kindly to light down there." Grimes's voice was a rasp, scarred by years of black lung, and his warning carried the weight of unspoken tragedies. Hawthorne nodded, his mind already envisioning the shots. The breaker boys sorting coal with bleeding fingers, the trappers huddled by doors in eternal darkness, their youth stolen in service to the barons above. The mine owner, Silas Blackthorne, was a man carved from the same unyielding stone as his quarry. Portly and red-faced, with a mustache that bristled like wire, he ruled Eldridge with an iron fist gloved in velvet hypocrisy. Blackthorne greeted Hawthorne at the mine office, a squat building reeking of tobacco and sweat. "You'll find no horrors here, Mr. Hawthorne," he boomed, his eyes narrowing. "Just honest work for sturdy lads." But behind his bluster lay a fear, palpable as the tremors that occasionally shook the town, rumors of unrest, of strange happenings in the lower levels where the seams grew thin and the air foul. Hawthorne's guide into the mine was young Tommy O'Donnell, a lad of 12 with freckles hidden under grime and eyes that darted like trapped birds. Tommy was a trapper, tasked with opening ventilation doors for the mule carts, spending hours alone in pitch blackness. As they descended in the rickety cage elevator, the world above faded, replaced by the creak of cables and the drip of water. The temperature dropped, a clammy embrace that seeped through clothing, and the air thickened with dust that danced in the beam of Hawthorne's lantern. "Watch your step, sir," Tommy whispered, his voice echoing oddly, as if the walls absorbed and distorted sound. They emerged into the main gallery, a vast chamber supported by pillars of coal, where miners hacked at the face with picks, their swings rhythmic and relentless. The children were everywhere, small shadows flitting about, pushing carts, picking slate. Their clothes hung in tatters, bodies bent from labor, faces pale from lack of sun. Hawthorne set up his tripod, the flash powder ready, his heart aching at the sight. But as he composed his first shots, a chill unrelated to the damp crept up his spine. In the periphery, he glimpsed movement, fleeting shapes that vanished when he turned. Among the children, one stood out, Lizzie Harper, a girl of 10 with hair like raven feathers and a defiant spark in her eyes. She was a nipper, clipping fuses for the blasts, her tiny hands nimble but scarred. Lizzie approached Hawthorne curiously.
"You here to save us, mister?"
she asked, her voice a fragile melody amid the din. Hawthorne smiled sadly. "I'm here to show the world what it ignores." But Lizzie's gaze shifted to the shadows. The world don't care, and down here, there's things that watch back. As the day wore on, Hawthorne delved deeper, following the children into narrower tunnels where the ceiling brushed his head. The air grew stale, heavy with methane sweet rot, and the whispers began, faint at first, like wind through cracks, but soon resolving into words. "Stay, join us." He dismissed it as fatigue. But Tommy clutched his sleeve. "The watchers, sir. They come when the light fades." The boy spoke of dreams shared among the children, visions of pale figures beckoning from abandoned shafts, promising warmth in the cold earth. By afternoon, Hawthorne gathered a group for the photograph that would become infamous. 15 children, arranged in a semicircle before a coal seam, their lamps casting elongated shadows that writhed like living things. Lizzie stood center, Tommy to her right, and the others, a mix of Irish, Polish, and local orphans, flanked them. As Hawthorne prepared the flash, a hush fell unnatural and oppressive. The children froze, eyes widening, as if sensing an intruder. In that moment, the air hummed, a vibration that set teeth on edge. The flash erupted, a burst of magnesium light that illuminated the tunnel like lightning. For a split second, Hawthorne saw it, a boy not among the group, standing at the edge, his form translucent, eyes black voids. The children screamed, scattering as dust rained from above. Tommy gasped.
"He's here! The lost one!"
Chaos ensued, but when Hawthorne developed the plate later that night in his makeshift darkroom, the image revealed the truth. The boy was there, captured eternally, his presence a stain on the emulsion. That night, as Hawthorne pored over the print in his boarding house room, the town stirred with unease. A low rumble echoed from the mine, like a giant awakening. Blackthorne dismissed it as settling earth, but the children knew better. Lizzie slipped away from her family's shack, drawn back to the entrance, where she claimed to hear singing, lullabies from the deep. And Tommy, feverish in his bed, muttered of the boy in the photo, calling him Enoch, a name from old mine lore, a child lost decades prior in a collapse, his body never found. As darkness enveloped Eldridge Hollow, the secret began to unfurl. The photograph was no accident, it was a summoning. The flash had pierced the veil, inviting Enoch's spirit, or whatever malevolent force wore his guise, into the world above. Whispers spread among the miners' tools moved on their own, lamps extinguished without cause, and shadows lengthened unnaturally. Hawthorne, sensing the peril, wired his editor for urgency, but the reply never came. Instead, the night brought visitors, silent figures at his window, their eyes reflecting like the boys in the photo. The tension mounted as dawn approached, the town holding its breath. Blackthorne, in his opulent home atop the hill, felt it too, a prickling at the nape, as if unseen hands reached for him. He had known of the old legends, the mine children of yore, spirits of the exploited, who haunted those who profited from their pain. But greed blinded him, and now the bill came due. In the depths, something stirred, ancient and hungry, awakened by the light that should have exposed, but instead ensnared. The children, innocent conduits, bore the brunt. Lizzie vanished that night, her bed empty, footprints leading to the mine mouth. Tommy found her lantern, still warm, but no trace beyond. Hawthorne, camera in hand, resolved to return at first light, unaware that the dark secret was only beginning to reveal its fangs. With the first rays of April 18 piercing the fog like hesitant probes into the unknown, Elias Hawthorne returned to the whispering depths, his heart pounding with a mix of dread and determination. The mine entrance loomed larger in the dawn light, its timbers creaking as if in warning, the ground around it scarred by cart tracks and the imprints of countless small feet. The air carried a new scent, metallic, like fresh, spilled blood mingled with the ever-present coal dust. Word of Lizzie's disappearance had spread like wildfire through dry timber, and a crowd gathered, miners with lanterns held high, mothers clutching shawls, their faces etched with fear. Blackthorne arrived on horseback, his face ashen, barking orders to form search parties. The girls wandered off.
Nothing more,
he insisted, but his voice cracked, betraying the lie. Hawthorne joined Tommy's group, the boy pale and trembling, clutching a crucifix his mother had pressed into his hand. As they descended once more, the cage rattling like bones in a sack, the whispers returned, louder now, a chorus of childish voices murmuring incantations in tongues long forgotten. The lower levels felt alive, the walls pulsing faintly, as if the earth breathed. Lanterns flickered erratically, casting grotesque shadows that danced mockingly. "Enoch's calling her," Tommy whispered, his breath visible in the chill. "He wants company in the dark." Deeper they went, past the main seams into abandoned galleries where the air grew thick with bad damp. Methane and carbon monoxide, silent killers that dulled the mind. Here, the mine revealed its true nature, a labyrinth of forgotten passages, some collapsed in heaps of rubble, others branching into voids that swallowed sound. Scratches marred the walls, tiny marks like those from children's nails, and faint drawings, stick figures with hollow eyes encircled by symbols that resembled ancient runes. Hawthorne photographed them, his flash popping like gunfire, each burst revealing glimpses of movement in the periphery. They found Lizzie in a sealed-off chamber. One thought collapsed years ago, but now inexplicably open. She sat cross-legged amid a circle of stones, humming a tune that sent shivers through the men. Her eyes were glazed, fixed on nothing, and in her lap lay a shard of coal etched with the face from Hawthorne's photograph. "The boy Enoch. He's lonely," she murmured. "The mine took him, but he takes back." As they lifted her, the ground trembled, a low growl emanating from below, dust sifting from cracks. Blackthorne's party arrived, and in the confusion a lantern tipped, igniting a pocket of gas. Flames licked the air, screams echoing as men scrambled. The explosion was contained, but not without cost. 2 miners perished, their bodies charred husks pulled from the debris. Blackthorne blamed faulty equipment, but the survivors spoke of hands emerging from the walls, pulling the victims down. Hawthorne, sinned but alive, developed his new plates that evening, and horror compounded. In every image Enoch appeared, closer now, his form sharper as if drawing substance from the light. In one, he stood beside Lizzie, his hand on her shoulder, fingers elongated like claws. The town descended into paranoia. Children refused to enter the mine, claiming dreams where Enoch invited them to play eternal games in the depths. Parents barred doors at night, but vanishings continued. First a breaker boy named Piotr, then the twins Mary and Joseph, all last seen near the entrance. Blackthorne, desperate, called in a priest from nearby Pittsburgh, Father Mallory, a stern man with a Bible worn from exorcisms. "This is no natural evil," Mallory declared after viewing the photograph. "The flash has bound a spirit, a revenant born of suffering." As nights blurred into a haze of fear, Hawthorne delved into the mine's history, poring over dusty ledgers in Blackthorne's office. He uncovered the truth in 1875. A collapse in the same lower levels buried 12 children alive, their bodies unrecovered due to instability. Enoch was among them, the youngest at 7, son of a Welsh immigrant. Legends whispered that their cries echoed for days, then turned to laughter, luring rescuers to their doom. Blackthorne's father had sealed the area, but greed reopened it in 1900, and strange occurrences began. Tools vanishing, whispers, shadows. Emboldened, Hawthorne confronted Blackthorne.
"Your mine is cursed by the blood of the innocent."
The owner laughed bitterly.
curses. It's progress, man.
The children are expendable. But that night, Blackthorn's mansion echoed with screams. Servants fled as furniture moved, and in the morning, he was found catatonic, clutching the photograph Hawthorne had left as evidence. Scratched into his skin were words, "Join us." The climax came on April 22, under a moonless sky. The town gathered at the mine, torches blazing as Father Mallory performed a rite. Incense mingled with coal smoke, chants rising against the whispers. Hawthorne documented it all, his camera a weapon against the dark. As Mallory sprinkled holy water into the shaft, a wind howled upward, extinguishing flames. Enoch manifested, not as a boy, but a swarm of shadows coalescing into forms of the lost children, their eyes accusatory voids. Chaos erupted. Tommy, brave fool, charged forward with a lantern, shouting, "Leave us be!" The shadows engulfed him, his cries cut short. Lizzie, recovered but marked, screamed as the entities pulled at her. Hawthorne fired his flash repeatedly, each burst dispersing the forms like smoke, but drawing them closer to him. Blackthorn, roused from stupor, confessed, "I knew, the reopenings awakened them. For profit, I ignored the signs." In the frenzy, the mine trembled violently, a major collapse imminent. The survivors fled as timbers snapped, the earth reclaiming its domain. Hawthorne emerged last, the photograph clutched in bloodied hands, but altered. Enoch's image faded, replaced by Tommy's face, eyes now obsidian. The mine sealed itself that night, swallowing the horrors, but not before claiming 5 more lives. In the aftermath, Eldridge Hollow withered, Blackthorn vanished, rumored to have descended into the depths voluntarily. Hawthorne left, the photograph his burden, publishing it in papers that sparked mild outrage, but no change. Yet the secret endured. Those who viewed the original felt compelled to return to the mine, hearing calls in their sleep. Lizzie survived, but aged prematurely, whispering of eternal games below. The tale's tendrils reached forward, with reports in later years of reopenings thwarted by accidents, and photographers capturing anomalies in the ruins. The dark secret. The photograph was a vessel, trapping souls to feed the mine's hunger, a cycle of innocence lost and vengeance unending. To truly grasp the chilling essence of the 1905 mine children, we must excavate the layers of history that underpin this tale, blending the stark realities of industrial America with the spectral folklore that haunts its underbelly. The year 1905 stands as a pivotal moment in the nation's narrative, a time when the Gilded Age's shine began to tarnish, revealing the rot beneath. Coal mining, the lifeblood of regions like Pennsylvania's Appalachia, was a brutal enterprise, fueled by immigrant labor and the exploitation of the vulnerable. Eldridge Hollow, though fictional in name, mirrors countless real towns, places like Centralia or Monongah, where the earth yielded riches at the cost of human souls. Child labor in mines was rampant, a grim reality documented by reformers like Lewis Hine, whose photographs echoed Hawthorne's fictional lens. In 1900, over 100 Zarazan children under 16 toiled in American industries, with mining claiming a disproportionate share. Boys as young as 8 worked 10, 12-hour shifts, exposed to dust, gas, and collapse. The breaker boys sat hunched over chutes, sorting coal with fingers raw from cuts, inhaling silica that scarred lungs for life. Trappers like Tommy spent solitary hours in darkness, their minds fertile ground for imaginings or genuine hauntings. Girls like Lizzie, though rarer in depths, handled explosives, their innocence shattered amid peril. The whispering depths evokes real disasters, such as the 1907 Monongah mine explosion in West Virginia, which killed 362, many children among them. Officially blamed on methane ignition, whispers persisted of bad air, spirits, folklore entities believed to lure miners to doom. Appalachian culture, rich in Celtic and Native American influences, abounds with such tales. The Welsh, prominent in Pennsylvania mines, brought knockers, mine spirits that tapped warnings or tricks. In folklore, these evolved into malevolent forces, especially around child deaths, symbolizing the land's revenge against invaders. The photograph itself draws from historical precedents. Early 20th century photography was seen as mystical spirit photography, popularized by William Mumler in the 1860s. claimed to capture ghosts via double exposures. Hawthorne's Flash Awakening Enoch parallels this, blending tech with the supernatural. In cultural context, photos were talismans. Families treasured images of the dead, but in mining communities, they became omens. Stories abound of cursed photos, from disasters like the 1911 Triangle Shirtwaist Fire, where survivors claimed images showed extra figures, echoes of the lost. Eldridge's curse ties to broader cultural traumas. The Industrial Revolution displaced rural life, forcing families into urban squalor or mine towns, where superstition clashed with mechanization. Native American legends of earth spirits, disturbed by digging, interwove with European ghost lore, creating hybrid horrors. In Pennsylvania, the Molly Maguire's Irish miners executed in the 1870s for labor unrest became spectral avengers in tales, their ghosts haunting bosses like Blackthorn. Educationally, this era spurred reform. The National Child Labor Committee, founded in 1904, used photography to advocate change, leading to laws like the 1916 Keating-Owen Act, though enforcement lagged. Yet the eerie undercurrent persists. Mine disasters often involved unexplained elements, survivors hearing voices, seeing apparitions. The 1905 Dar mine disaster in Pennsylvania killed 239, with reports of premonitory dreams and shadowy figures forewarning collapse. Folklore blends fact seamlessly. Lost child motif recurs globally in Japan's Yore children haunting sites of neglect, or Mexico's La Llorona weeping for drowned offspring. In Appalachia, haints of mine children lure the living, embodying collective guilt over exploitation. Enoch's name evokes biblical undertones, the taken, one, never dying but ascending, twisted here into eternal entrapment. Culturally, this reflects immigrant struggles. Irish and Polish workers, fleeing famines and partitions, found new oppressions, their children fodder for capitalism. Songs like The Miner's Lament capture the despair, while ballads of haunted mines warn of hubris. The 1905 context includes rising unionism, the United Mine Workers organizing strikes, met with violence, fostering legends of vengeful spirits aiding the oppressed. To lend unsettling authenticity, consider artifacts. Extant photos from 1905 show children's hollow eyes mirroring our tale. Museums hold miners' diaries recounting whispers in the dark, dismissed as hallucinations but eerily consistent. Archaeological digs in abandoned mines reveal child-sized tools and bones, fueling speculation of unmarked graves. Thus, the 1905 Mine Children isn't mere fiction, it's a tapestry woven from historical threads, where the line between documented tragedy and lingering legend blurs, leaving an eerie resonance that questions, were the whispers real or the mind's cry against inhumanity? In this blend, the past haunts, educational yet eternal in its chill. Delving into the abyssal core of the 1905 Mine Children, we uncover not just a tale of spectral horror, but a profound mirror to the human psyche, reflecting universal fears and cultural wounds that fester in the dark. Symbolically, the photograph serves as a Pandora's box, its flash a metaphor for enlightenment that ironically unleashes darkness. In psychological terms, this echoes Freud's uncanny, the familiar made strange, where a mundane image reveals repressed truths, stirring dread. The mine itself symbolizes the subconscious, a Freudian Eden where buried traumas erupt, the children embodiments of innocence violated, their ghosts projections of societal guilt. Thematically, exploitation looms large, connecting to universal fears of powerlessness. Child labor in 1905 epitomizes capitalist voracity, where the young are consumed like coal, fueling progress at soul's expense. Enoch represents the archetype of the wronged child, akin to Peter Pan's lost boys but twisted into vengeful wraiths, highlighting how neglect breeds monstrosity. This ties to cultural trauma. Appalachia's history of extraction leaves generational scars, black lung, poverty, opioid crisis, echoing the mine's curse as metaphor for inherited suffering. Human nature's duality emerges in characters like Blackthorn, whose greed blinds him to consequences embodying hubris. Hawthorne, the observer, grapples with voyeurism, his camera exposes yet exploits, questioning art's ethics in horror. Psychologically, this probes the observer effect. Does witnessing change reality or summon demons? The whispers symbolize collective unconscious, Jungian shadows where archetypes of the abandoned child haunt the ego, forcing confrontation with our darker selves. Universal fears of the unknown amplify the chill. Claustrophobia in tunnels mirrors existential dread, the crushing weight of existence, the void below. Vanishings evoke abandonment anxiety, primal terror of being forgotten, as in folklore where minds are liminal spaces, portals to other worlds. Thematically, this explores mortality. The mine as memento mori, reminding of death's inevitability, children's ghosts underscoring life's fragility. Culturally, it connects to trauma theory, how societies repress horrors only for them to resurface. Post-industrial America grapples with deindustrialization's ghosts, abandoned mines as symbols of lost prosperity, haunted by economic specters. In broader human nature, it probes empathy's limits. Why do we ignore suffering until it manifests as horror? The photograph's curse suggests karmic retribution, a theme in Gothic literature like Poe's Tale Heart, where guilt manifests physically. Intellectually ominous, consider symbolic layers, light versus dark, flashes Promethean fire, stealing knowledge but inviting wrath. Enoch's eyes, obsidian voids, symbolize the abyss gazing back, Nietzschean warning against fighting monsters. Thematically, innocence corrupted ties to Lord of the Flies, but subterranean, emphasizing environment's role in shaping evil. Psychologically, mass hysteria in Eldridge reflects suggestibility, rumors amplifying fear, as in Salem witch trials. Yet, the supernatural elements invite paranormal inquiry. Are ghosts metaphors or real? In thematic exploration, they represent unresolved grief, the children's spirits demanding acknowledgement, connecting to restorative justice in cultural narratives. Ultimately, this story haunts by illuminating human nature's shadows, our capacity for exploitation, denial, and redemption. It leaves us pondering, in uncovering forbidden knowledge, do we liberate or condemn ourselves? The ominous tone persists, for in the throne of nightmares, themes are not dissected but lived, echoing eternally in the mind's depths. As the echoes of our descent fade, dear listeners, we emerge from the whispering depths, but not unscathed. The chill of the mind clings, a spectral frost on the soul. The 1905 Mine Children leaves us with a photograph not just of faces lost to time, but of humanity's own darkened reflection, a secret that whispers ignorance is no shield against the past's grasp. Elias Hawthorne, burdened by his captured curse, vanished into obscurity, his final letters ranting of shadows pursuing him across states. Eldridge Hollow stands abandoned now, the mine sealed. Yet hikers report whispers on windy nights, children's laughter turning to pleas, and anomalies in photos taken near the ruins. Extra figures, eyes like voids watching. This tale lingers because it roots in truths too harrowing to forget, the exploitation that built empires on broken backs, the folklore that veils our guilts, the psychological abysses we dare not plumb. What if Enoch waits still, not in coal seams, but in the corners of our conscience, beckoning the indifferent to join the forgotten? As you turn off the light tonight, ponder the photographs in your own life. Do they hide secrets, stirrings in the shadows? In the throne of nightmares, stories end, but hauntings endure, echoing in the silence. Who watches you from the dark?